This week, Twitter announced a $1 million prize for the best long form article posted on the platform. It's a dramatic incentive to push creators to start creating content on Twitter again, as most of us who spend a lot of time on there have seen just bounds of creators get off the platform. So it comes after, Twitter's kind of been continuing to hemorrhage advertisers. The UK revenues are down 58%.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's trying to reposition itself as a serious content destination. Did you see this, Marissa? Do
I
you want to
saw
throw
this
your
and
hat in the ring?
I saw this, I have thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think a few of them that really come to mind is, first of all, Substack is literally the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
Substack is having not just a moment, but I think a long-term success based on that
Yeah.
long-form content, and
Hmm.
Twitter, Twix, X, whatever we're gonna call it, really wants to grab at that. And I
Yeah.
think that I mean, personal opinion, I don't think it's the right
It's gonna
move
work. Yeah.
for a few reasons. And I think we can chat about those, yeah?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it kind of screamed desperation to me, where it's
Yes.
like they're kind of trying to figure out what it is they're doing and who they are, which is crazy because it's like, it's been this thing for so long. It's kind of like the short form content. It's where people go to like learn about trends, learn about news. It's kind of like the public square. And so to try to
Yes.
turn it into a long form content platform, which they've done, right? They've have announced, the newsletter tools and all that for like a while, but now to kind of go, I guess, $1 million, into it, it seems pretty wild because it's like, why long form, right? That's what I would love to like hear. It's like, why long form? You have Substack. Is Substack who you
Mhm.
think you're competing against? Because
Yes.
Threads just announced that they hit 400 million users, right? And that's
Yeah.
kind of starting to take its, piece of the pie. And then you have obviously, Instagram and TikTok, all like video content, right? Like, I think it was just, this earlier this year, or sorry, not this year, right? Earlier last
Yeah.
year, they did the play into like video and like allowing people to like upload really long content, right? So I've seen a lot of creators, podcast creators, upload like the full
Full
video of their
podcast.
podcast and put it on there. So it's strange to me that they would go for long form written content instead of doing more video or like podcasting and going from there.
I think
So
that they haven't found their space that's going to
yeah.
be working, because the real issue is that there's a cultural problem there.
Yeah.
Advertisers are leaving because of moderation, not
Hmm.
because of the content length, not because of anything else. Like,
Yeah.
I we see this all the time with brands. Like, do we feel like our content showing up next to something that is not moderated, that could
Hmm.
potentially be associated with our brand in a screenshot? That's scary. That's why I'm not advertising there. It's not
I mean,
because
we
I
saw
don't
that
have the
the whole
yeah.
no, sorry, that just we saw that whole battle with Grok AI like 2
Oof,
weeks
it's
ago, right? Where
ongoing.
it's like yeah, and it's like this is what people are afraid of is showing up next to a photo of, a woman that's now in a bikini because, some troll asked for it, or even worse, to have, a child, show up in a way that they shouldn't, right? And so
Mhm.
these are the things that companies are telling you that we want you to solve. And they kind of refuse to. I mean, firstly, because Elon doesn't want to fix it, right? So if it's coming from the top, then like nothing that's happening in between that, other people are trying to come up with, like, Nikita Bayer, like we see him, on Twitter, like talking about,
Mhm.
what he's trying to fix and the content moderation and the trolls and all the like bots. But then when you have the head say that like, "Oh, I want my timeline to show up this way," right?
Yeah.
And that shifts the entire timeline for everybody. Then like everyone's getting sick of like the timeline changing and not having it work the way that they're used to and the way that they'd kind of set it up, right? Like
Yeah.
longtime Twitter users are used to setting up their Twitter and getting the type of content that they want. When that changes because the algorithm changes because of some, whim of, Elon Musk, then like, let's try to look at like the real problem, right? And
Mhm.
that's kind of what I've been seeing. A lot of, people come and comment, like, I'm not here to be reading newsletters. I'm not here
No.
to be, um, to put up my own work. I've seen a lot of creators say that they're not really incentivized to put up their own work, on there. They prefer to be on Substack. I've seen a lot of friends just move completely
Mhm.
onto Substack and start
Yes.
using their timeline and their, like, posting system, which is funny because they launched that, a few years ago, and it's been kind of slow rolling, but as people have kind of become more used to posting their own content and getting people to comment back, like, really smart, intelligent conversations are happening on there, people are starting to move over, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, I think those are the things that they have to look at and not just try to incentivize people with $1,000,000.
Yeah, I think a cash grab is not gonna do it. I think it's a
Mhm.
cultural fix, not chasing the latest trend or the
Mhm.
latest success, and it's like, what is our actual like, our identity as a
Mhm.
platform, and I think that there is some research and people that they need to talk to. I mean, like, I look at myself and I'm like, only way that I use Twitter is I look at sports scores, I look for, like, real-time commentary, and I'm not looking for to read, like, a whole article. I'm looking to
Mhm.
get the real-time news and what's
Mhm.
happening, like, immediately,
Mhm.
and multiple points of view, and, like, I'm also the advertising buyer, and, like, I
Right.
don't know who the conversation is being had with,
Mhm.
that says that this is the right direction and this is the identity that, Twitter should follow.
Mhm. I mean, Twitter has long been known as not having a good ad platform and like trying to figure out how to like buy ads, how to figure out how to find an audience that like works for you. Like Facebook, Instagram have completely blown it out of the water. TikTok has also managed to do pretty well in terms of like audience selection
Mhm.
and buying, probably because their algorithm is completely random and chaotic, and that's the point. That's what people know it as, and it's more based on, like, interests, less,
Mhm.
like, demographics and all that. But Twitter, like, I mean, I haven't tried to buy ads there, for a really long time, but I do
Yeah.
remember, when I
Yeah.
did try, it was just like a puzzle, like, you just don't even know what you're looking at, how it works, or anything like that. So, it's not surprising to me that that hasn't changed. And then on top of that, you have all this like, content moderation stuff happening, which is still ongoing and not getting fixed. I mean, what seems to be happening actually is that countries are starting to step in and be like, we're going to set up regulation so that this can't be done anymore, which is what we're seeing in the UK and other European countries because they're
Yeah.
just like this shouldn't happen. And unfortunately, that doesn't look like a thing that's going to happen in America anytime soon.
No.
So we might still be stuck with the current timeline as it stands, but that's definitely a concern there. And I do agree with Marissa that like what I'm on there for is like hot takes of like
Mhm.
everything that's like happening, and just like pithy commentary, and that's something that they could definitely go into, which is what I was talking about earlier, right? Like podcasts are the new medium that people are using to get their news, right? Like
Mhm.
the fact that people are willing to listen to 3-4 hours of Joe Rogan talk to them and like a guest, right? Shows that the willingness is there. Whether that translates to reading long form content is another problem, but I really think that they should leave that to the Substack and like LinkedIn, you can arguably
Yeah.
say has been growing their own
Their newsletters,
newsletter
yeah.
platform well enough to actually start maybe competing more with Substack. But I don't see Twitter kind of being in that space. And even when they moved from like, 140 characters to 280 characters,
Oh, the
like,
life of me.
right?
Like
It was like people complaining, "Oh no, now you have more like room to say what you have to say, but should you have
but
more
should you?
room?" Right?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
And like the whole point of like, Twitter was like, if you could get it down into bite size, that's what made you go viral, right? That's what made you, get followers and people, pay attention to you. And that's slowly kind of been changing where it's like no longer the things that go viral. I mean, this is another problem. It's just the algorithm has changed so much that it's no longer about having those hot takes and those like pithy thoughts. It's now just like, well, what goes viral on Facebook, right? Like it's filled with like AI slop and like, video slop of like, cooking videos and well, this is where I'm starting to get, people making like, arts and crafts videos or, AI slop. And Yes, you could say that like the algorithm gets shaped by what you look at as an individual. But if the content is there and it's being pushed because it's going viral because other people are making it viral and it eventually makes its way into like your window, then you're more likely to see it. And the way that people react is not quick enough to make it go away quickly. So the algorithm just kind of changes and it has changed and become more, AI slop. So that's a lot of things like where I hear too, where it's like, how are you competing with the AI slop by making long form content, kind of come up. And what's even worse is the blogs that I have seen kind of come up are kind of like just, weak, you know, generalized kind of, content. One, I don't know if you saw this one, but the one
Mm,
that went viral about like the lessons to learn about life. If you want to change your life in a day, here's what to do. Which is funny because it went viral like the week before this competition was announced. But that's the one that like most people had said, oh, it should be this one. It should be this one, even if like the deadline was not met. If they would have put more of a baseline of saying like what we're looking for is more like in-depth, like kooky, quirky type content that like, is written by experts to give you a rabbit hole to go down, I think it would have done better because it's like you're trying to invite, the people that are best at their field to write the work and not just like where you're trying to get as many eyeballs as possible because that's what they're looking for is virality, right? So like you're kind of diverting to the mean. First off, the competition is dumb itself, but second, it was not done properly in order to try to get the type of commentary that they would want, or I think they should want, to create
mhm.
Twitter into more of an intellectual, like, space, speaking of that public square.
Yeah.
So it just kind of ends up being like nothing because people just don't know the identity of the brand.
From a brand perspective, I ran social and content for Salesforce for
Mhm.
many years, and the thing I loved most about Twitter was the conversation. It wasn't
Yeah.
long form, it was short form commentary and community management, how we could help people, how we could add value. And I think that that is something that they're kind of moving away from when they are saying long form content. They're pushing
Mhm.
that. And I miss that. I loved the community management aspect. I think that that
Mhm.
was one of the most, I think, fun parts of our job.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think like one of the most famous use cases of Twitter is like people hopping on there to complain and getting customer service to slide in,
Oh,
their
man, I've
DMs.
used let's not lie, we've all done it, we've all done it. Delta,
Totally.
United, especially,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, all the airlines.
Yeah, no, totally. And but the thing that happened and the thing that like mattered was that it changed. It made companies have to be like, shit, we need to get on Twitter and respond to people complaining because otherwise people see it. And then, the
Mhm.
narrative gets out of, control and like people start, glomming on saying like, oh yeah, I also had a personal experience that went awry, you
You
know?
gotta own your own narrative, and that means sometimes, especially when comments are happening, you have to choose when you
Mhm.
speak and when you don't.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that last week with DoorDash, right? Where it's like
Mhm.
the whole desperation score, and like they knew they had to like jump on that immediately as soon as the conversation started happening on Twitter because they know that people pay attention to those things. And so that's the thing, right? It's still a public square, and I think that's what missed the mark here for me was that
Yeah.
this was not in line with them being the public square, at least not the way that the competition was set up or spoken about. So that's
Mhm.
a lesson to be learned for me is know what your platform is doing and what it's meant for, what people are using it for. Oftentimes what people are telling you that they want is exactly
Mhm.
what they want, so listen to
Yes.
them. It's crazy that like this is being done, like $1 million is being put towards this, instead of trying to get people to use it as a public square and like fix the algorithm and get it to be more like Twitter used to be, when it wasn't bleeding advertisers and it wasn't bleeding users,
Mhm.
and you had this like identity of being where people came to get their takes, to hear about news, to hear about sports. That would be a thing actually. Sports conversations are like
Mm.
very of the moment. How can
Yes.
you be bringing more of that onto the platform, because that's where people go to keep up with the scores, right?
They've done some pretty good stuff there. I actually like following their sports because they do have that curated and they do a good
Mhm,
job there.
mhm.
But, like, that's the kinda thing they need to lean into, not long form. Like,
Exactly,
I think my biggest
exactly.
lesson learned here is it's like the 2 that you said, it's know your brand identity,
Yeah,
know what you really can own, and don't follow, like, the here's what's doing well right now, like, really know what you're good at,
yeah,
and I think the other one is
yeah.
know your audience, listen to them, and if they say, "Hey, this is what we want," they probably want that. Like,
Yeah,
so, like, I
imagine that.
I think thing that is so fun for me at Webflow is that, like, I am the buyer. I am their
Mhm,
ideal customer.
yeah,
So, like, I get the head of the chief product officer being like, "Marissa, is this something you would care about in our
mhm,
product?" And I'm like, "Yes." Like, I am the ideal buyer, and it's so fun to
mhm.
be that person for your own brand instead of waiting for X or Twitter to come ask me what I think.
Yeah, 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 no, definitely.